Hi everybody, this is Bonnie with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I want to show you how to make the Aran Appeal baby blanket. The pattern for this particular project is in this leaflet right here by Leisure Arts that I published several years ago with them. It includes 4 baby blankets, although I'm only going to be teaching you the first one in this book. But these blankets are quick and they are cabled. And if you've never worked the wheat stitch, the large wheat stitch, this might be a way where you can enjoy learning this stitch. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. For this project, I'm going to be using Big Twist Fleck yarn. This is yarn that I found at my local Joann store. And this is 85% acrylic, 10% polyamide, and 5% linen. Feel free though to use any number 4 or even other size weight yarns as long as you match the hook. But this particular yarn is a number 4 weight, and the color of this is called Fruit Salad. I'm going to be using approximately 4 of these for this project. I'm also recommending that you have a couple of crochet hooks. I'm going to be using size K or 10.5 or 6.50 millimeter, as well as another hook. This is for when we finish this off. It's going to be size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. Now, if you decide to use different yarn size, that's absolutely fine. Just make sure that you change your hooks to the appropriate size for the yarn that you choose. I'm also recommending that you have a pair of sharp scissors and a yarn needle for hiding loose ends handy. To begin, we're going to be using our size K or 10.5 or 6.50 millimeter, which is the larger of the 2 crochet hooks. We're going to start with a slip knot, and we're going to crochet a chain of 92 chains. After crocheting those 92 stitches, we're going to work row 1 by starting working in the second chain from the hook. We're going to single crochet in that stitch and in each stitch all the way across. At the end of this row, you should have 91 single crochets. So after finishing row 1, you should have 91 single crochets. Starting row 2, we're going to chain 2. This counts as a half double crochet both now and throughout. We're going to skip the first stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to work what I've come to learn as a wattle stitch, which is simply a single crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet worked into the same space. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to do that again in the next stitch. A single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. We're going to work this until we have a total of 12 of these across. Skip the next 2 and work again. A single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Again, skip 2 stitches, etc., and we start the next one here. So go ahead and work this until you have a total of 12 wattle stitches worked in a row. After having completed those 12 wattle stitches, and do be sure that you have 12, we're going to skip 2 stitches again, and then we're going to work a half double in the next stitch. And this, what we're working now, is going to be the foundation for that lovely cable in the center. In the next 3 stitches, we're going to work double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then another half double crochet. And we're going to do that 3 more times. So 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches, and then a half double in the next stitch, and do this 2 more times. 3 double crochets, and a half double, and then 3 more double crochets, and a half double. Let's go ahead and do a quick visual check. So we have our first half double, 3 double crochets, a half double, 3 double crochets, a half double, 3 double crochets, a half double, and then 3 double crochets, a half double. So that is where our cable is going to be once we start working that on the next row. And going through the rest of this, in the next stitch we're going to work a wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that space, and just like at the beginning of the row, skip 2 stitches and then work another one until you have a total of 12 wattle stitches on this side as well. Skip 2, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and work the remaining of these 12 wattle stitches, and then I'll show you how the row ends. After working those 12 wattle stitches across the second part, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and in the last stitch we're going to work a single crochet. Let's just take a look at what we have. Alright, so now we're ready to move on to row number 3. We're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the single crochet and that double crochet. And for this row, and really continually working in the wattle stitches, we're only going to work in that chain 1 space, and we're going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Again, in the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. After a while, I believe you'll really enjoy this stitch. It's a lovely stitch. It is totally reversible, and it is not a yarn eater like some crochet stitches can be, although I love yarn eater crochet stitches. Sometimes they're the most beautiful, but this one is a very conservative stitch as far as yarn consumption goes, and it is very versatile, can be used in a number of situations, and I incorporate it a lot into my various designs. Okay, let's just go ahead and finish this out. I know I'm working kind of fast, and if you find that I am working too fast for you and you're watching this video from a computer, you should look across the bottom. You may have to stop the video, and if you look across the bottom around the bottom right hand side, it would be on this side for the left hand version, there's a little gear shaped icon. If you click on that, it will bring up a playback speed, and you can click on that playback speed and choose either slower or faster, and in varying degrees. So you are in total charge of the speed of all of these videos on many different platforms. This works both for my YouTube videos as well as my videos on Vimeo, which is my paid subscriber channel. And if you haven't checked that out, I encourage you to. A lot of really fun benefits from that channel. Plus no commercials and exclusive content that does not appear on my public channel. Okay, we're doing this all the way until we get to the double crochets, which we just reached. Okay, so we have our first half double crochet there. Remember, now this single crochet is part of the wattle stitch, so we're not going to work in that, but this is the first half double. We're going to work a half double in that stitch, and we're always going to work the half doubles by just working in through the top loops. Now these 3 double crochets, we're going to work front post stitches, and if you've never worked a front post stitch, it's just like working a double crochet, except instead of working it through the top loops, you're going to stick the hook around the body like you're giving it a belt, and then you complete your stitch. It's as simple as that. So we're going to do 3 of those front post double crochets, and if you want more or additional stitch videos on stitches like this, you can check my website and look under the playlist for the Aran and Celtic stitches. The next stitch is a half double, so we work a half double, and then 3 more front post double crochets over those double crochets. So this is how we are working the central part of this. So just continue this over the section where the half doubles and double crochets are. Again, working front post double crochets over those 3 double crochets. I'll just go ahead and finish this out with you. Half double in the next half double, and then 3 more front post double crochets. Get some more yarn. Here we go. Back to these front post doubles, and then a half double crochet. And let's pause and take a look at this section. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, so to speak, that are being formed. And again, these will be formed into the cables very, very soon. Getting back to the wattle stitches, you should know what to do, working only in the chain 1 space. Work those single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, which again, all 3 of these together we call a wattle stitch. So go ahead and work this, and I will show you how the row ends. At the end of the row, we're going to work a single crochet in that chain 2 space, just like that, and that ends row number 3. We're going to turn, and just for the record, we now have the back side facing us. So the even numbered rows will have the back side, the odd numbered rows will have the front side facing. We're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the single crochet and the double crochet again, only working in the chain 2 spaces. We're going to work those 12 wattle stitches. And just as a reminder, the wattle stitch again is a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And yes, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's just part of the educational process. So I'm going to go ahead and work these 12 wattle stitches, and then I will show you what to do when you get to the cable portion. Once we get to the center portion, again, we're going to always skip that single crochet, which is part of the wattle stitch. We're going to work a half double into the top loops of that half double crochet, and now over these post stitches that we worked the last row, we're going to work back post double crochets, and we simply work it just like we did before, except we wrap the hook. We're going to come into the back door and wrap the hook around, tying it behind the stitch instead of in front of the stitch. So we'll do 3 back post double crochets, a half double worked into the next loop, and back post double crochets in the next 3 stitches. And we're basically going to do this over each set. Half double into half double, and again 3 more back post double crochets, and then a half double in the next half double, and then 3 more back post double crochets, and then a half double. So I'm going to pause again and show you what this should look like. Now if we turn and look at the front side, you see that you have 4 nicely developing columns there. All right, so now for the rest of this row, we're going to go back to the wattle stitches again, working in the chain 1 spaces only, working those wattle stitches. So go ahead and finish out working these stitches. And when you get to the end of the row, work a single crochet in the chain 2 space. Now we come to row 5, and this is where the fun begins. This is where we're going to start crossing the cables. But before we do that, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work those 12 wattle stitches worked only in the chain 1 spaces. So go ahead and work these stitches. After working those 12 wattle stitches, we come to the crossing of the cables. And let me explain what we're going to do before we actually do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cross these 2 cables. This one is going to cross on top, and then we're going to work these stitches by working behind. And then this cable is going to cross this direction. So it's going to be opening up like a wheat stalk. This one's going to go this way, cross over this column, and again this one's going to go this way, crossing over this column. So let's go ahead and do this. First we're going to work the half double on this side. Now we're going to skip these 3 stitches and we're going to work into the next half double. And don't worry about what this looks like while we're in process. Once we finish it, I think you'll understand better. Now the next 3 stitches, we're going to wrap our hook twice so that we can work front post treble crochets in each of the next 3 stitches. Now we're going to work behind these last 4 stitches, these 3 front post trebles and the half double, and we're going to bring our hook in to this hole from the back side, and then we're going to work this stitch, and this stitch with front post trebles. So it's a little bit tricky at first. We're going to bring the hook into this hole, and a lot of times I will use my thumb and my tall man finger to secure the stitch, to actually touch the stitch that I'm going to go around with my hook, and it helps me to guide it. Now if I even pull this down, it helps me a lot to work the stitch in that treble crochet, or work a treble in that stitch. So let's do this again. Wrap the hook twice, coming into this hole, I'm securing it with my finger and thumb, and I'm going to use that to guide my hook. But let's go ahead and pull this down, pull this fabric down so that we can feel that stitch. And yes, that is the correct stitch, and you can see that I've worked those 2, and I have 1 more to work here. So I'm going to secure that by touching it again with my thumb and my tall man finger, coming into the same hole, which is behind that half double, and then I pull this down and work the stitch around it. It's a little bit on the complicated side at first, but once you've worked it a few times and understand what is happening, so that you can see these 3 stitches were made by working front post trebles on these, and they're all behind these 4 stitches. This is a cabling system that I devised years ago that is unique to a lot of my patterns, and I think it just yields a softer, more curvature to these cables. I think adding a little bit more beauty than the stiffer versions. Okay, so half double, the next half double. Now the other side is going to be the opposite of what we just did, and I believe it's going to be a little bit easier. Skip the next 3 stitches, half double, in that half double, and again front post treble in the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. Now working in front of those 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble here, here, and then here, which is much easier because you just pull across and work them. Much easier. And then again, these are all front post treble crochets, and then a half double in the half double. So go ahead and you can see how this cable column, as part of this large cable, goes off to the right, and this one goes off to the left. So again, this is the large wheat cable. After that, we merely have 12 wattle stitches to work. And after we complete those 12 wattle stitches, we work a single crochet in the chain 2 space. So go ahead and finish row 5, and then I'll show you how to work row 6. Row 6 begins the same way as the last several rows have begun. We work a chain 2 and then work in the chain 1 spaces only, working those wattle stitches. So go ahead and work those 12 wattle stitches. After working those 12 wattle stitches, we get to the back side of the cable. And let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to work a half double, again worked into the top loops of the half double, and working on these cable stitches, we're going to work 3 back post double crochets. And I must say right now, I love working with this yarn. It's the first time I've actually used this particular type of yarn, and it's really blessing my fingers right now. It really feels so nice and cushy and soft. And I believe it's going to give excellent stitch definition as well. Okay, so we've worked those 3 back post double crochets. Now in between the last stitch and the next stitch, this is a place where the cable crossed. We're going to work a half double right into the middle. And then we're going to work 3 more back post double crochets. Now we did add a stitch in here, but we have 2 half doubles. We're going to skip this one, so thereby the stitch count is going to stay constant throughout. So the stitch count has not changed since we started row number 2, and it's not going to change until we work the perimeter round. So that's kind of fun to know. So again, skipping this one, we're going to work a half double in the center half double, and then we're going to work 3 more back post double crochets. And again, where these 2 columns crossed, we're going to put a half double between that last stitch and the next stitch. And again, just trust me, the math all works out. And then 3 more back post double crochets. Let's try this again. It's picking up some strands that I don't want included in the stitch. There we go. And a half double in that next half double crochet. So this is what it looks like from the back, which isn't a lot, but if we turn and look at it from the front, we're seeing more definition. All right, so now we work those 12 wattle stitches worked in those chain 1 spaces. We work 12 of those, and then we work a single crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 6. This is what you should have after completing 6 rows. Now, to complete this baby blanket, you're going to need to repeat rows 3. This is where we worked the first row of the front post double crochets. Rows 3, 4, 5, where we cross the stitch, cross the cables, and 6, which is working on the back side that we just did. So rows 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to repeat that. So now the assignment is you're going to repeat rows 3 through 6 a total of 14 times, then repeat rows 3 and 4 again. And rows 3 and 4 would be the ones with just the front posts, and then with the back posts for row 4. And then after that, do not fasten off, because we're going to then work the perimeter round. So if you need additional stitch support for doing these 4 rows, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I want you to look across the bottom of the screen. I'll put a time mark where you can go back to row 3 and rewatch rows 3, 4, 5, and 6 as many times as you'd like until you complete the 14 repeats. So after you do that, I will show you how to work the perimeter rounds. After completing 64 rows, you should have a total of 15 places where the cables have crossed, plus one additional row, which would have been row 4 repeat. Now we're going to do something very important. We're going to change from our large hook to the smaller I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook, and I've gone ahead and turned at the end of that last row, and we're going to now work the round. It's going to be all the way around the blanket, and we're going to work single crochets. And let me show you how we're going to work these around. We're going to start with the chain 1. We're going to single crochet in that first stitch. Now working in the wattle stitches, we're going to skip the double crochets. We're instead going to work 2 single crochets in that chain 1 space and 1 in the next single crochet. Again, skip that double crochet and work 2 single crochets in that chain 1 space and then 1 in the next stitch. So go ahead and work those in that manner until you get to the cable. Now working in those 17 stitches across the cable, we're just going to work single crochets in all of those stitches as well. After working those single crochets across the cable section, then we come back to the wattle stitches, and again skip the double crochet, work 2 single crochets in the chain 1 space and then 1 in those single crochets as you work on those wattle stitches. So go ahead and work those, and I'll meet you at the corner. Once we get to the corner, I've worked my last stitch in the single crochet. Go ahead and work one in the chain 2, which also is listed as a half double in the written pattern. So we're going to single crochet there, chain 2, and let's go ahead and single crochet in that same place again. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Now working along the edge, we're going to work 2 single crochets in that next row end and then 1 in the next. 2 single crochets in the next row end and then 1 in the next. So go ahead and repeat that, and I will meet you at the next corner. After having worked all the way across that side, we come to another corner. So let's go ahead and chain 2, and then we're going to work in the remaining part of the foundation chain. So we're going to work our first single crochet right there, and we're going to work each one across the row. And you can see, if you're not sure where to work, you can work opposite those stitches, and I'm going to go ahead and crochet over that tail, so we won't have to worry about that too much. And so go ahead and work, and then we work, you can see we're covering up the entire foundation chain. So go ahead and work all the way across to the next corner. After working across that end, we're going to turn 90 degrees, chain 2, and we are going to work in the row ends of the last side. We're going to work 2 single crochet in that first row end and then 1 in the next. Make sure we pull through all those threads. 2 single crochets and then 1. So go ahead and work that all the way up that last side. At the end of this round, we're going to chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to that very first single crochet of the round. We're not going to turn, but we're going to go on to round 2. We're going to chain 2. This does not count as a double crochet, and we are going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. The only exception is when you come to those chain 2 corners, we're going to work 8 double crochets into the corner. That's going to seem like a lot of stitches, but go ahead and put them there anyway, because we're not going to be increasing as we work additional rounds. So that's going to give plenty of stitches to work the ribbing. And even if it's a little bit ripply, don't worry about it. So again, 8 double crochets in those chain 2 corners and just 1 double crochet in all the other stitches. After having worked this all the way around, you can see I have 8 double crochets in that chain 2 corner. I'm going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. So after that slip stitch join, we're going to chain 2, and the next 3 rounds are going to be worked the same way. We're just going to work post ribbing, which is working a front post double crochet followed by a back post double crochet, and we're just going to work that alternating all the way around. And after we've worked all the way around, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round, and then we're going to again work front post over the front post, back post over the back post, etc. So go ahead and work 3 additional rounds just like this. After working this all the way around and finishing up the 5th row, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Then I'm going to give it a chain and a tug, and I'm going to clip a generous strand, and then I'm going to grab my yarn needle and I'm going to hide these strands within the work, and we are finished with our baby blanket. Well, I hope you enjoyed making the Aran Appeal baby blanket with me today. If you did, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to post below. And as always, God bless. Bye-bye.